The leadership tussle taking place in Labour Party seems to be unrelenting as confusion continues as the Court of Appeal in Owerri, Imo State, removed Julius Abure as national chairman. The court consequently recognized Abure and Apapa as national chairman, and one of the independent National Electoral Commission should deal with in terms of candidates of the party for the coming Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa governorship election. However, the ruling followed judgment of the Court of Appeal in Benin City in April 14, which affirmed Abure as national chairman. As you have Olufemi and Adams with me. So Olufemi, I just want you to, briefly, share your thought about what really is happening in Labour Party and how is this court ruling going to affect the internal crisis?
Not yet over for the Labour Party, as far as the crisis within the party is concerned. Just like you said, on August 14, the Court of Appeal in Benin ruled and nullified the suspension of Abure, of course, from, and the problem started from the suspension of Abure from his ward, which was what the Abure and Apapa faction acted upon to affirm his suspension, then bringing Mr. Apapa up as the acting national chairman. So there have been controversies since then, leading to the primaries that have been conducted in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi to select governorship candidates for this election. The matter taken to the Court of Appeal in Owerri was also in respect of who was the legitimate candidate of the party for the coming election in Imo State. So the controversies are many, and there are still some other litigations in court regarding this same leadership issue between who is the national chairman now and who is not. And I don't think we are going to say the end yet, maybe until the Supreme Court takes a final decision on it. There will continue to be suspension and counter-suspension. The Abure faction has asked that the ruling in Owerri be disregarded, that it has nothing to do with the national leadership, but rather the gubernatorial primaries of the party for the state. So these confusions still persist. We only hope that beyond the court, the party will be matured enough to call itself together and resolve this issue. Otherwise, until we get to the final court, there may not be any end in sight.
All right, Mr. Adams, we just have a few minutes to end the show, but Mr. Olufemi is talking about the confusion, especially about the court ruling, as there have been different versions of this whole thing, depending where the interest and loyalty lies. Does this case need to get to Supreme Court to determine final decision?
Yeah, I think the Supreme Court will be the final arbiter on this issue, because we have had varied interpretations of what the judgment of the Court of Appeal has been. There has been indications that the Abure camp, who claim to be the authentic leadership of the Labour Party, has to answer. And then there is this Apapa camp, whom the Court of Appeal has affirmed their legitimacy to, the chairmanship of the party, the leadership of the Labour Party. So we know that we are confident that the Supreme Court, as the final arbiter, will be able to adjudicate properly, on who the authentic leader of the Labour Party is. But in the meantime, Nigerians who support the Labour Party are of the overwhelming opinion, that a side, which I wouldn't want to mention, so I don't want to be taken out of context, is legitimately entitled to the leadership of the party. But as it stands, we are going to be waiting for the Supreme Court. I am a law-abiding citizen, and I know, and I also tell Nigerians to be law-abiding as possible, to wait for the Supreme Court to adjudicate on this particular issue before then. Because I know that the leadership of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, the SY presidential candidate of the party, and his team would want to appeal before the Supreme Court. And I am confident, I am as confident as every other Nigerian, that the Supreme Court would be able to tell us who the authentic leadership of the Labour Party is. So I would want to wait because I wouldn't want to be prejudicial. I wouldn't want to be taken out of context. I wouldn't want to come ahead of the Supreme Court. I am confident that the Supreme Court would properly give us a direction as where to follow on the particular case of the leadership of the Labour Party. Thank you.
Supreme Court it is to resolve the crisis within the Labour Party. I want to thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Olufemi Lawson, Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability, and as well Adams Abonu, political analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the show.
Pleasure.